Welcome to Recollection Mall. If you were a mall rat like me, or spent your formative years hanging out or being dragged to the mall by your parents or your parental units, then you've come to the right place. Have you ever gone into your childhood, teenage, or current mall and wondered, wasn't there a store or restaurant there? So let's take a trip down memory lane and take a look at that mall's history of yesteryear. Be sure you stick around to the end of this video and see if you can take my mall survey. So leave a comment or a memory of this mall below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks. A 114-acre parcel on the site of the Brookwood Village was rezoned in 1960 for construction of the Rosebrook Shopping Center, a $35 million regional shopping center proposed by the Rosebrook Corporation of Dallas, Texas. That project failed to come to fruition. Among the first businesses was the Kogan Spinning Wheel Restaurant, which opened in September of 1972. The shopping center was developed between 1972 and 1974 by Bob and Jim Shepard of the Shepard Realty Company on the former site of the Shades Creek Park. Brookwood Village sits on 57 acres in the middle of Shades Mountain and Shades Creek and is surrounded by three cities: Homewood, Mountain Brook, and Vestavia Hills. It also sits between Highway 280 and Highway 31. Brookwood Village is decidedly smaller than many malls built in the 1970s, and it features one of the strangest layouts for a mall in one of the most scenic settings. Situated in a narrow valley between two long, steep hills, the mall itself is wedged between one of those hills and Shades Creek. Building the mall itself was a challenge because, unlike most malls, the available parking area was hardly existent. Not only that, but the fact that it was built along a creek bed led to the site being situated on poor soils that called for the entire mall being built on piles driven deep in the ground to support its own weight. To accommodate for the parking situation, a two-level, partially underground parking deck was constructed under the mall to offset the limited parking on the outside. This resulted in the majority of the mall itself being elevated over the parking deck, with only one small basement-level shopping area in the middle to tie the parking deck to the mall itself. By housing most of the mall's parking areas inside the building, the center presented a more imposing presence to passersby than typical malls. The blank facade was relieved by deep terraces planted with juniper shrubs. The interior featured a large skylit atrium in the center with a large fountain populated with tree-like sprayers that filled the area with white noise and mist around a pair of escalators. The floors were glazed brick pavers interrupted by smoothly polished slope-sided planters. Triangular stairway platforms were accented with thick polished aluminum railings. The 750,700 square foot mall was known to everyone as the Brookwood Mall, which was a combination of the two different municipalities that own the opposite ends. One end is situated on land that is owned by the Mountain Brook, and the other end is on land that is owned by Homewood, hence the name Brookwood. The mall was billed as a two-level mall, but the mall never really had two full floors. There was always the upper level that stretched from Riches to Bezits. The lower level had the only mall storefronts in the middle and was then separated from the Riches and Bezits with parking deck space in between. The mall opened its doors in August of 1974, surrounded by some of the Metro Birmingham's wealthiest communities. It was home to Alabama's first Chick-fil-A. The mall was originally anchored by a two-story, 104,000 square foot Bezits department store on the west end of the mall. It was constructed beginning in August of 1974, and that store opened in the summer of 1975. And on the east end of the mall was a two-level, 196,000 square foot Riches department store. The shopping center was intended to be a more upscale mall, and this image was enhanced by the presence of upscale junior anchor Gus Myers on the lower level. Brookwood Village was known throughout the Birmingham area as a vibrant enclosed shopping destination, featuring the best names in retail. Within a year of opening, additional tenants filled the vacant spaces. Those included Bud's, Ellen's Roots, Ups and Downs, and Webster's. Some of the first stores and restaurants that were there were Magic Pan, Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor, Environs, Chess King, The Yogurt Culture, Spencer's Gifts, a record store, and correct me if I'm wrong, Camelot, and a Lily Rubin. There was also a steak and ale restaurant outside of Pizitz. The lower level shopping included County Seat, the Holly Tree, Just for Feet, Copper Kettle, Farrell's, New Environs, Bookland, a video game store, and even a Hickory Farms. There was also a AmSouth Bank as well as a Chick-fil-A. In 1986, Pizitz, department store chain, would be purchased by McRae's, and the store would close. It would reopen as a rebranded McRae's. Other later tenants included Betsy Prince from 1981 to 2016, Ann Taylor Loft, Gordon's Jewelers, Z Gallery, Book and Company, then Books A Million, KB Toys, B. Dalton Bookseller, GameStop, Circus World, Just for Feet, Cache, Sbarro's, Golden Rule Barbecue, Orange Julius, Victoria's Secret, and Banana Republic. In interior remodeling in 1988, decked the fountain to create a dining and sports events platform. The cement and cobblestone style floors were replaced by pastel carpeting, and the round cement fluted columns around the supporting beams were replaced with square white plaster columns with some decoration. The wood and metal staircases that wrapped upwards with two triangular landings each were replaced by straight carpeted stairs with small landings at the halfway point, slightly wider than the stairs. In addition, new lighting and escalators were installed and many shop fronts were upgraded. Later convenience center tenants included Joseph A. Bank, Cameras Brookwood, and professional offices. The former Jolly Ox was demolished and an Applebee's restaurant opened in a more accessible out-parcel site in 1989. In 1997, Brookwood Village was purchased for $35 million by Colonial Properties Trust and renamed the Colonial Brookwood Village. The mall would go through another major renovation beginning in the late 1990s. In the mall's latest renovation, the mall added its own lifestyle center wing and was substantially renovated. Completed in late 2001, the mall renovations cost over $50 million. The streetscape was added along the front of the mall, featuring stores that would open to the street and several restaurants that would become local favorites. A few upscale restaurants were placed in front of the mall. This was a tight squeeze indeed, as it took some of the front parking area between the mall and Shades Creek. Shades Creek, as it is, divides the mall from Shades Creek Parkway by a series of bridges over the creek. This is a new strip of restaurants, though, helped create a way to funnel traffic not only in front of the mall, but into the lower level front entrance into the mall. It also helped create more diverse offerings in addition to the 65-store mall. This lower level was also built into a huge court that extends above the second level, so it is clearly visible from the food court on the second level. The food court itself is integral in the mall, and it features a more interesting mix of restaurants than were found in many food courts, including McAllister's Deli and the local favorite Golden Rule Barbecue. The enclosed two-level parking decks at either side of the mall's central atrium were connected by ramps through the below-ground parking area. The Metro Grill was located next to the Cameras Brookwood from 2001 to 2005. A Vincent's Market grocery store occupied the former Winn-Dixie until July of 2006. In 2005, Rich's department store chain would be acquired by Macy's, and the store would close. It would reopen as a rebranded Macy's. In 2006, Belk department store chain purchased the McRae's chain and closed the store. Belk would convert the McRae's to a Parisian store. In late 2007, Parisian would close. The store would reopen and rebranded as Belk. In 2007, Colonial Brookwood Center opened next to the mall. The 170,000 square foot building includes office and retail space. Full-service restaurants included Brio Tuscan Grill, Cocina Superior, and Hickory Tavern. Zaya Rotisserie and Grill took the place of Plaza 3 Steakhouse, which in turn succeeded the Copper Grill in the redeveloped mall. A McCormick and Schmick seafood restaurant on the eastern outparcel closed in early 2012, following the chain's sale to Landry's. A second location of the Huntsville Grill 29 opened there in October of 2015. It closed after a few years. In October 2022, Grace Church began using the former restaurant as its church building. In 2011, it was announced that Target would build in the site of the original Winn-Dixie with the anticipated March 2013 opening. A topping out ceremony was held during the construction on June 26, 2012. The 140,000 square foot store is elevated above ground level parking. A two-story glass atrium connects the parking entrance to the store, complete with elevators and cart-carrying escalators. In January of 2018, Belk closed its store at the Brookwood Village. White Flowers reopened their retail store at the mall later that year. In 2019, the Homewood Theater Company leased space in the mall to stage its productions. Other new tenants announced in 2019 included Butterflies and Magnolia, Darnell's Fun Stuff, Homewood Florist, Canella Gelato, Edgewood Dance, and the Cottage of Serendipity. During the 2020 coronavirus pandemic, numerous tenants closed, including Books A Million and Acre Restaurants Brio Tuscan Grill, Jason's Deli, and Cocina Superior. The mall's Chick-fil-A, the oldest location in Alabama, survived the pandemic but closed in 2021 in anticipation of the new freestanding store opening in Cahaba Heights. In August of 2021, Fairway Investments of Birmingham and Atlanta's Pope and Land Real Estate purchased Brookwood Village for an undisclosed amount. Plans for redevelopment had not been announced, but by the end of 2021, only Macy's, Five Guys, and Hickory Tavern were still operating. In early 2022, Macy's closed. Brookwood Village was essentially empty. Only Hickory Tavern and Five Guys remained on the mall's footprint. Hickory Tavern closed in September of 2023, and Five Guys closed in December of 2024. The interior of the mall closed in 2022. Plans are up in the air right now as to what the future holds for Brookwood Village. Congratulations!
Still here? It's over. Whoa. When I find you...
Pop quiz, hotshot.
This is only a test.
So if you've gotten this far into the video, thanks. So how many anchor stores closed or changed names at this mall? So if your answer is 6, give yourself a hand. You were paying attention. Thanks for watching. So what are some of your memories of this mall? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to Recollection Mall. Add your name to the mall directory. Thanks.